You guys are not going to believe what's going on the family business. This is my review, breakdown, commentary on Carl Weber's The Family Business Season 4, Episode number 8, titled The Return. The scene opened up with a whole lot of cussing and fussing from LC, and that's because he was being restrained, detained against his will, and taken back to the lab. We found out that Brandy and Dr. Kennel have been appointed as the lead doctors, or scientists, whichever way you look at them, to treat patient zero. Dr. Kennel is going to be treating patient zero with a whole lot of electroshock therapy, and Brandy is going to be using her drugs. And we got to stick around to see what drugs those are going to be. Y'all are going to be surprised. Okay, so in our next scene, we have some exciting news. It looks like we can put to rest what was actually in that box that LC handed over to Harris back in season 3. Whatever was in there, whatever paperwork was in there, it was enough to get Vegas out of jail. Right? And not only is he getting out of jail, they actually dismissed the charges and expunged his record. And the state concurred. Looks like there was some sort of miscarriage of justice, so he's free to go home. So in exchange for the Duncans allowing him to live and breathe on Earth, I guess he felt obligated to go ahead and help Vegas get out of jail. And the fact that he really didn't have a choice. Because Chippy wasn't playing. And Vegas couldn't believe it at first. He had to stand there for a minute, digest the moment, take it all in. Because it's been, 5 years, right? So he's out now. Then we see Orlando sitting with his son, and he made a phone call to LC yet again. And, of course, he's not able to reach him. And I'm sure he's getting a little worried that something may be wrong. So Vegas came through with the blue on blue. Blue shirt, blue jacket, sharp. Have y'all ever seen anybody this sharp getting out of jail? They usually have that brown paper bag, some jeans, and a t-shirt, and the flip-flops. We can't forget the flip-flops. So they made sure he was straight on his first day back home. Of course, Nevada is excited to see his dad, right? I mean, he's adolescent now. And when Vegas went in, he was probably maybe 12 years old. So he's pretty excited to see his dad. And Chippy, look, leave it to Chippy to bring on the dramatics, because I was okay until, my heart sank when she said, my son. Oh my God, she bought the drama in a matter of 2 seconds? She's such a great actress. They briefly let him know a little bit about, something's going on with LC. They didn't quite get into it, of course, there at the jailhouse. But I'm really glad that Nevada was humble enough to tell Harris thank you. Because the last time they were together, I think he held a gun to Harris because, he was beating up on London. So for him to humble himself and walk right past him and say thank you, that was nice. That was really nice of him to do that. So Harris really does come through when he needs to. Like I said, he really didn't have a choice, but it still didn't make, the scene less touching. It was still a tender moment. So everybody is welcoming Vegas back home. And they got right to business. And I'm really glad to see that he's out, because now we can have some man muscle behind the Duncan operation in finding LC. And not to say that Chippy couldn't handle it, but listen, 2 heads are always better than 1, and you can't have the yin without the yang, right? So it's really good to see that man muscle behind what Chippy has already put in place. So everybody then chimed in on what their speculations were and what they thought happened. So they came up with the correlation of Baby and Doll being stabbed, Sasha being stabbed. So they kind of put the 2 and 2 together to say, hey, maybe these are related somehow. Maybe it's the same person or someone from the same camp. So it ended with Vegas telling Junior to call a meeting with everybody from the table. And he said, we don't want to tell them anything about where Pop is or what's going on, because I want to look them in their eyes first. And I'm so glad that he said this, because a man like that's really street savvy, smart, business wise, and someone who's been through what he's been through, he's going to be able to spot the weakest link by looking in their eyes. So I can appreciate that. Very clever, Vegas. And in the meantime, because their last stop was at Fresh Meadows, that's going to be he and Chippy's next stop. So in our next scene, we see Xavier mopping the floors at Fresh Meadows, and Brandy is there, and she's asking him if he hears the wailing and the yelling that LC is doing, And of course, he can't hear anything because he's got a headset on. Then he told her, look, that's been going on all day. Where you been? And look, y'all, we know Brandy's a smart girl. Very smart. I just don't understand why she's not able to put two and two together. And maybe it's just not clicking with her yet, but I'm going to need her to pull through, like for real. And fast. And she needs to do this before LC forgets about who the heck he is. Then we move on to our friendly neighborhood mechanic, LoJack. And every time he gets around a Duncan, he starts fidgeting. He is at a loss for words. He doesn't know what to do or what to say. He's just a nervous wreck when he comes around the Duncans. Paris is there to question him about any knowledge that he may have on Sasha's murder. So while he's struggling to put two words together, Curtis pops up. Then right before Curtis really put hands on him, he suddenly knew who Dominique LaRue was. He told him that Dominique is Antonio Dash's new girlfriend, which is, of course, Alexander Cora's wife. Oh yeah. She getting it all in. But we all remember she's not with Antonio for no reason. Antonio has gotten her kids back, Sagittarius and Aries. So Vega stopped by Rio's joint to have a drink, and Paris checked in to let him know what she found out about Dominique LaRue. And I really appreciate how the plot is building in this one because, it's really real, like it's true to life, because he just got out of jail. Of course, the first stop is to stop at the bar. Y'all know what the second stop gonna be. Yeah, Hellfire Club or somewhere of the like. And I was right because he didn't get back home until 5 a.m. 5 in the morning, right? So London is up at her computer trying to get some work done. And here we're finding out, bits and pieces kind of dribble throughout each scene. And we find out a little bit more about what was going on with Vegas and why he was in jail. Now, at the end of season 3, or near the end of season 3, we found out that he was basically taking the fall for LC. And I'm not sure if this is something that, it was something that LC did, but I'm not sure if it was something like money laundering or murder or like the things that they do within the family that he would have been more suited for jail for. So he took the fall for LC. And here we see London just thanking him for it. Right? Because he took the fall for the sake of the family, right? And the family business. So again, all of these things gel together so nicely, and we're able to pick up bits and pieces along the way. So Brandy finally made it in to see her number one patient, patient 0, aka Larry Duncan, aka LC Duncan. And he immediately asks her for help. He's crying out and she's ignoring him totally. Oh, you're going to be fine. Oh, we're going to talk about what's going on with you in therapy, in the group therapy session. So, he's begging and pleading her, not having any luck. So he told her, look, I'll give you $1 million. And listen, LC is tossing around $1 million like it's $20, right? Just offering $1 million to anybody who will do anything for him. He offered to give her $1 million or two to make a phone call, one simple phone call to his family. And right now, once again, Brandy is still not putting two and two together. She's not thinking. She just thinks he's crazy, which couldn't be further from the truth. I really hope that they don't have another scene like this because it's really hard seeing LC just stretched out, so helpless, nearly out of his mind. And he can't get anybody to listen to him. So my heart is going out to LC. So as Brandy is leaving the lab, she ran into Larry. And he wants to know how LC is doing. And of course, she told him that he's psychotic, he's deranged, he's out of his mind. And he wants to know what's the best treatment for him, right? So she told him that she's going to put him on this drug that's going to help control his mood that she developed called Fire. Are you serious right now? She's going to treat LC Duncan with Fire, their competitor drug. Well, now LC is actually the owner, distributor of Fire, right? So she's going to try to get him to take his own medicine against him. This is not going to be good, you guys. Not good at all. Now, in our next scene, Junior is having a meeting with Antonio Dash, and he's letting him know about the mandatory meeting tomorrow. But of course, he said nothing about Elsie being missing. But he did mention the fact that he knows that Antonio is seeing a woman named Dominique LaRue. And Antonio was like, well, how do you know that, Junior? And I love him in this scene because he's letting him know, look, don't play with me. And Antonio had to give him his respect because there's no way that Junior could have found that out without being 2 steps ahead of him already. He told Junior that Dominique is in Miami on a shopping spree that's going to last a whole entire week and a half, right? And I did a video on these two on Antonio. I love the way she says his name, Antonio. So I did a video on those two, and if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure that you look at that, because not only did she get a shopping spree in Miami for a week and a half, she also got her 2 kids back, Aries and Sage. So they're safe and sound. Yeah, all thanks to the power. Okay, but Junior had to let him know that he knew that Dominique is well versed with the knife. He told him that his cousin was killed with a knife. And Antonio had to reassure Junior that Dominique had absolutely nothing to do with the murder of Sasha. So he agreed that when she came back, that he would arrange a meeting for her and Junior to have a sit down. So now it's time for Elsie to start his therapy. So they wheeled him into Brandy's office to take his medication. And of course, he looked down inside the cup and saw fire. And he said, I ain't taking that. He spit it out. So they said, okay, you don't have to take it. We'll just give you a little bit more of that therapy to help encourage you to go ahead and take your medicine. I'm telling you, they dropped so many F-bombs in that office. Oh my goodness. I can't take too many more of these scenes, you guys. It's tough seeing Elsie helpless, right? So moving on to our next scene, London paid Dominique a little surprise. She held a gun to her and told her that if she didn't get all the answers right, that she was going to have problems on her hand. So she wanted Dominique to go with her, right, to talk to Elsie. And Dominique said, well, no, it's not a good time for you, sweetie. And then here comes Sage. Sage pulled the gun on London, as did Paris on Sage. So apparently they know each other. They've gone to, I don't know, finishing school together. Who knows? But they know each other. And since Dominique had absolutely nothing to do with Sasha's death, Sage promised that they would help them to figure out what happened. So on their way to Fresh Meadows, Chippy declined a call from Orlando. She doesn't want to put too much stress on him because, he's already going through things with his son. So she's been avoiding his calls just so that she wouldn't have to tell him about what's happening with LC. But Vegas told her to go ahead and answer the phone. He'd take care of it. He'd make sure that Orlando stayed put while they took care of things at home. But she never got the chance to tell Orlando what was going on because the call dropped. We all know that coming in and out of Fresh Meadows, that whole area is pretty woodsy, so you're not really going to get too much of a reception as you get closer and closer to the facility. So I guess they eventually got LC to take the medication that they were trying to give to him. And now he's in his, I guess this is his recovery room, because we can see that he's heavily sedated. The orderly tried to take his straitjacket off, but he told him, no, don't take it off. Even though he's sedated, he's still strong. So let's just keep this straitjacket on. And he's got so much dope in him, he shouldn't be any problem. So when they left, he started hearing voices. And then he discovered that the voice was his brother Lou. And Elsie thought that he appeared to him because he was mad at him about what happened to Sasha. And he said, you can't beat me up any more than what I've already beat myself up. And Lou was like, no, Sasha's here with me now. We're good. But right now, I need to offer you some spiritual advice. And he's basically telling him, look, you've gotten yourself in quite the pickle. And you're going to have to pick yourself up and get it together. Otherwise, you're going to be in here a long time. Of course, he's encouraging Elsie to talk to their brother Larry. And Elsie told him, look, I've already done that, but he won't listen to me because all Larry wants is the money. And then Lou asked him, he said, look, did you take his money? Did you take Larry's money? And Elsie is still standing by his answer. And he told him no. Elsie don't know what money he's talking about. So Lou is still offering him words of encouragement, telling him to get it together. And he said, I know you're not crazy, but you're in the loony bin. So have you cracked yet? Have you lost your mind totally? And I know they got you, pumped full of drugs and all this other stuff. And then Elsie was like, no, I ain't lost my mind yet, but I'm sitting here talking to you, so I could very well be on my way. Chippy and Vegas made it up to Fresh Meadows. And immediately Chippy already knows that something is off, something just doesn't feel quite right. So they leave. So when they leave to go and find Valarie, the orderly stepped up to talk to Holly, and he told her that the director is still pissed off about what happened to his niece, and he told her that he's going to give them the same treatment as soon as he finds out who killed her. And of course, we all know at this point that Holly and Brother X are responsible for Sasha's murder. So she's shaking in her boots at this point, and looks like he's already onto them and he knows what they did. So when they get to Dr. Kennel's office, they told him that they want to check on someone who visited their facility. And he showed them videotape of LC